Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Student Council President Dean Sandquist, and welcome to the 2013 Benjamin School Commencement. I cannot believe, thank you. I cannot believe that these are my last few hours as a Benjamin Buccaneer. Although I will be a very proud alum, it's still strange to think that after tonight, I will no longer be an official student at the Benjamin School. It doesn't seem so long ago that I was touring the lower school campus with my mom and Mrs. Graham the summer before first grade. That was 12 years ago, and now my classmates and I are up here experiencing the biggest change of our lives. You see, change is a scary thing, and especially for young adults such as the students in this class, it's one of the hardest concepts to fathom. Many of us up here have gone through the same routine for almost 14 years. However, but now we face one of the biggest challenges of life, responding to change. However, when it comes to one's ability to respond, I think of Randall Doan. Randall experienced a sudden change earlier this year that was almost fatal. But he never stopped fighting, and now Randall is up on the stage ready to graduate with his classmates. Randall is a symbol for this entire graduating class. We are prepared to face change. Rather than folding when our life takes a turn, we will persevere. That is one of the greatest things about the class of 2013. We are ready for whatever life has in store. And lastly, this amazing group up here understands the most important thing of all, that in life, change is inevitable, except maybe in vending machines. Thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy the ceremony.
Good evening. How are you? You can hear me, I hope? Good, okay. Well, I want to wish you a good evening again to all of you, and congratulations to all of you in the audience and to all of our graduating seniors. At this time of year, a head of school finds himself behind the microphone often, with the expectation of others that he or she will have something important to say. This is my third time addressing the senior class this week. First, at the senior banquet, and many of you were there. Second, at the alumni breakfast, and most of you in the audience were not there. And now at commencement, and all of us, in fact, are here. The seniors have been hearing from me and from everyone else who's been addressing them just how exceptional a class they have been. At this point, we are all aware, you and I and the class, we're all aware of their tremendous successes academically, athletically, in terms of a multitude of awards, and their exceptional college admission outcomes. Baccalaureate evening, not this evening, but baccalaureate evening 2 evenings ago was always special for me, primarily because we hear from adults on their way to the future, and not from children as they had been before. The concept of appreciation becomes more and more observable to us, the adults, as the children grow into adulthood. At baccalaureate, you as parents and you as faculty were appropriately appreciated. I know that as we turn this evening to laud 3 iconic members of our faculty who are retiring, our students will certainly recognize the deep level of appreciation that they and the generations of students who came before them have had for these individuals. I'm going to ask now, and this might come as a bit of a surprise for some, but I would like to ask Senora Montse Arpa to come forward and join me here at the podium. Stand beside me, Montse. Montse, first of all, this is for you. I can't hide the flowers any longer. Mr. Backham is here with them. I'd like to tell you just a thing or two about Montse Arpa. Monse has taught at Benjamin for 21 years and has spent 34 years in the field of education. She's done many things for us at TBS, most recently overseeing the Pathfinder Awards application process. Not something you would want to do. Believe me. Okay, it is no easy feat. Monse received an academic chair at our retirement party earlier this month. So she received one of those very clunky chairs that's very hard to place in one's milieu at home, and we were very, very happy to honor her with one. This evening, we want to say thank you once more for dedicating her life to children, especially those at TBS. Monse Arpa. I now ask Dr. David Spielberg to join me at the podium, please. David, there are no flowers for you this evening. David has taught at Benjamin for 16 years and has spent 31 years in education. He's our former science department chair, as well as our former advisor to Honor Council. Again, no easy feats, either one of those two responsibilities, and I know David would agree. David also received an academic chair at the retirement party earlier this month. This evening, we want to say thank you once more to David for dedicating his life to children, and again, especially to those at TBS. And aside, David, if you know this or not, is an author. He has a published book. He is a prolific reader and a prolific writer. When David writes simple emails to me, they can be lengthy, but they are always fascinating, and they always have included links so that if I choose to read more, I could even pursue more research than what he's providing me on email. What we have for David this evening, in lieu of flowers, is a leather-bound book, a journal, an empty journal in which David can record his memories here at TBS. Dr. David Spielberg. And finally, but most definitely not least importantly, I ask Mrs. Phyllis Wisner to join me at the podium. Phyllis, listen to some of these numbers, if you will. Phyllis has taught at Benjamin for 34 years. Each of those as mathematics department head. Mrs. Wisner has spent 47 years in education. Among many other things, is that not true?
Keep going.
Because I didn't think you were 47 years old.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
39.
Mrs. Wisner, among other things, has been the 12th grade lead advisor and baccalaureate and commencement coordinator. So if you've had other children and you've been to this very lovely ceremony before and to baccalaureate, we all have Mrs. Phyllis Wisner to thank. She always took on... She always took on, in my opinion, and I'm a newcomer, I'm here 5 years, and I've observed Mrs. Wisner taking on, in my opinion, way too much. But she did everything extraordinarily well, because that is, as everybody says, that is Phyllis's way. Phyllis did not receive an academic chair at the retirement party earlier this month. She's given so many years to TBS that she was already in possession of that particular milestone. She did, however, and I hope she agrees, receive many nice gifts and remembrances. They were very nice, Phyllis. Yes. This evening, we have chosen to ask Phyllis to accept an honorary diploma from the Benjamin School. With our deepest appreciation, Mrs. Wisner, for your lifetime commitment to us and the field of education, You have finally graduated. I'm about to introduce someone else, but I would like to take a second to say the following. To all of you in the audience and to all of our graduates, I wish each of you good health, happiness, and a very, very bright future. The gentleman I would ask to come up now is Mr. Joseph O'Connor. The theme for me this week, as I spoke to our seniors and as I spoke to our 8th graders coming up to the upper school an evening or two ago, my theme seems to be appreciation. It's a time of year to appreciate those who helped you overtly, those who helped you behind the scenes, those who have been there for you with or without your knowledge. If you knew Joseph O'Connor, those of you in the audience, and I suspect that most of you do not, as would be true for our graduating seniors, you would be extremely appreciative for all he does for the Benjamin School. Someday, if you'd like a little history of that, please give me a buzz, come into my office, and I would be delighted to sit down and talk to you about the ways that I feel the Benjamin School would not be where it is today, the many, many ways, if it were not for the dedication and efforts and very, very hard, dutiful work of Mr. Joseph O'Connor. And he's sharing some words with you this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm sort of surprised I was invited back this year. Last year I almost made a terrible faux pas when Bob said it's customary for the chair of the board to make some comments at the graduation ceremony. I said, well, how long should I talk for? And Bob said, well, 35 minutes. And I said, oh, that sounds like a long time. And so I prepared a 35-minute speech. You'll all be happy to know. But right before coming to the graduation exercise, I looked up what Dan Stanton did the year before, and it was only about 8 minutes. And I said, I obviously misheard Bob, because my ears are not that good. He must have said 3 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to give the students this year, as I did last year, the option to vote for either the 35-minute version or I'll say 3 to 5, but I'm lying a little bit on that. What would you like? Short or long? Long. Oh, Bob. All right, come on. I don't hear anything. Short? Okay, short. Thank you. Then we'll go with the short version if it's okay. You know, my father taught me as a young kid, he said, when you're making a speech, brevity is both a blessing and a virtue. And so I'll try and keep this brief. I'm here to really do 3 things. One is to give out some thanks, welcome to parents, give out some thanks to a bunch of different people. 2, to talk about some life lessons that I've learned over my long life. And I know you probably think I know I'm probably, maybe, I might be younger than 1 or 2 people in the organization, maybe a couple of great-grandfathers or something, but I've been around a long time, and I learned those lessons from 1, my parents, from 2, my educational background with the teachers I interacted with, and 3, from people I admired over the last 40 years of business. And 3, to wish you Godspeed, to wish the graduates Godspeed in a great and wonderful future they have ahead of them. First, saying welcome and thanks. Bob Goldberg. I was on the little committee that interviewed Bob just over 5 years ago to bring him to the Benjamin School. And I feel he's been a blessing, a tremendous blessing for this school. I don't know if you all do, because these kids have been here in the most part for many years, but before Bob came here just over 5 years ago, we had 4 different principals in 5 years. We're in the midst of a financial crisis. We had a lot of tough things going on at all schools in this area. and also at our school. And I think if you take a look at where we stand today, it's a credit to Bob, to his administration, and to the faculty, especially the faculty, to how far we've come in such a short period of time. I remember I was sitting next to a person who gave the commencement speech at Harvard last year, a guy named Barney Frank, who was a congressman from Massachusetts for many years, and if you know him, you may or may not like his politics, but happened to sit next to him at a charity event. And I said, so when you do a commencement speech, what are you trying to do? And he said, well, don't make it memorable. And I said, what do you mean, Barney? And he said, well, you don't want to be remembered for what you had to say. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, if it's memorable, it means you probably really screwed up. And I said, well, give me an example. He said, well, you know, when you hear the Star-Spangled Banner at various events, and he said, think of the two most memorable ones you've ever heard sing the Star-Spangled Banner. And I thought for a minute, and I said, well, it was Rosie O'Donnell and Janet Jackson. And I thought, well, that's probably right. I don't want to mess up at this point. So when I go down and have the additional gratitudes and thanks, the faculty here is astounding. They're not here because they think they're going to be driving Lamborghinis or Rolls Royces. They're here because they love children, and they impart so much. You take a look at the 3 long-term teachers who are retiring this year, and you think of the thousands of lives they have touched in such a meaningful way over up to 34 years. It's unbelievable. And the dedication of the faculty and the commitment is just, it's just amazing. And, you know, I'm constantly amazed at what the faculty does here and how much we owe them. When I look at the students, I feel the same way. You take a look at what they've achieved over a short period of time. And we really have an exceptional class here in the year of 2013. And you can talk about academics or athletics, the arts, or even more importantly, in my opinion, this may be just my opinion, the friendships made, the indications of how they feel about each other, the outpouring of support in so many different ways for Rand, Rand Doan, when he had his issues with his illness. So when I think about them, I think all of them deserve a great bit of gratitude. And I look at President Bush, and I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess it up. But President Bush basically said, congratulations to all of you who are receiving awards, accolades, and distinctions. You've earned it. Also, congratulations to you that, like me, have picked up a lot of C's along the way. You still may be President of the United States. And I think that's, we take a look at where the students are going, and I'm sure if I was sitting here with President Bush, we'd go back and forth on who had more C's in high school. I know I'd probably win by a wide margin, and would pass it off as being higher grading standards 40 years ago. When I look at my parents did 3 things they tried to instill in their, I'm one of 11 kids, and that may seem like a large number, and it is. And we all had numbers. I was number 5. We had numbers for 2 reasons. My father did know our names. He did. But we had really numbers for 2 reasons. One, if he had a problem with you, if he said, number 5, I need to see you in my den tonight, you knew you probably weren't getting a Marshall Benjamin scholarship. And that was true. And number 2, people, when they hear I'm one of 11, they'd all say, well, where are you in the family? And you couldn't really say I'm in the first decile or the last quartile. You sort of say I'm number 5. And my father and mother always said there were 3 things they really wanted to do for us. And the first one is to give us access to an excellent education. The second is exposure to good values. The third was to basically some suggestions on how to lead a so-called good life. And I think if you take a look at Benjamin School, they do all 3 of those things. They really have. It's the same values. It's just, I love this school. You know, those of us that come from the Boston area, maybe all of New England, maybe more than New England, probably more than New England, are really sort of education snobs. We think we have the only schools that make sense in the world, at the high school level as well as at the college level. And we're snobs like that. And I'll be very honest, when you look at the Benjamin School and what it's achieved with this class over the last 5 years, and you take a look at education, you take a look at athletics, you take a look at arts, you take a look at the broad spectrum. And there was an article in the Post last week that talked about the success of the Far Side, our newspaper, which is the #1 newspaper in the nation. And you have to put that in perspective. Last year there were 3 million high school graduates in the US, 3.2 million, and 37,000 different graduation ceremonies. And the Far Side came in #1. And the Post article says, how does this tiny, tiny school do this? And I'll say that's just the tip of the iceberg for this school. And it goes across all different aspects of the school. So when one of my real heroes in life, a person whose life I follow, is a guy named Jamie Dimon. He's a banker who runs JP Morgan. It's a big bank. It's actually the largest in the country. I think they manage around $2.4 trillion. And Jamie is, they have, to put in perspective, they have more employees than there are residents of the city of Orlando. Give you an idea of the size of this institution. And he was asked a couple of weeks ago, he had a manager's meeting, and he said, what are the 3 most important things you look in taking someone into your leadership, into the small leadership group that you have at JP Morgan Chase? And he said 3 things: capabilities, character, and third, and I think very importantly, how they treat people. And those are the 3 things that I think my parents tried to instill in us, and I think the Benjamin School has also instilled in us. It's basically capabilities, a good education, character, the mission, the values of the school. How do you treat other people? My father always said it doesn't make any difference. Everybody in this world is a distinct human being, whether they're basically flipping burgers at Burger King or president of Xerox. They all have aspirations, they have hopes, they have dreams, they have kids, they have values, they have things they want to achieve in life. And they all have to be treated in the same fashion. And I think that's really one of life's lessons that I really have picked up from a bunch of different people over the years. Last but not least, friendships and family. I am constantly amazed at the participation of the student body, as well as, and probably even more so, the parents in the school. When we were looking at taking my son Jerry, who's a junior, hopefully he'll graduate next year, if he keeps his marks up. But when we looked at schools up in Boston before we decided to move down here, basically there are a lot of schools that, drop him off, and we don't want to see you again until he's ready to graduate. Send us a check, and then send us some more checks, and then send us some more checks. But please don't come see us. And Benjamin is so different, and the dedication of the parents here in so many different areas, and I get a unique perspective with Bob on that. The dedication, the work effort, the things they do in so many different ways, whether it's going to a blood drive for RAND, whether it's basically working the BPA, whether it's doing all these various things, the dedication of the parents and the involvement of the parents makes this institution a very different institution. One of the things I was most pleased about with my son Jerry now being a junior is the friends he's made here. And again, I started off this by saying, I'm a little bit of a school snob. Everybody from Boston is. And he's made some great friends, lifelong friends, wonderful people, wonderful kids. And that makes all the difference in the world. These will be lifelong friends. And I've got to be very honest, I wouldn't trade my 4 children's experience at Benjamin for any school of the United States. And I mean that sincerely. So I'm going to try and wrap up now. A couple of suggestions as they head off. I look at the students here, and I say they're like a Saturn rocket. And it's dropped the first stage as they went from kindergarten through adolescence. And think about running the middle school here with 240 kids running through adolescence. Unbelievable. What a challenge. I just had 3, you know. And the second stage is getting out of high school. And now they're into that third stage. And third stage is when they're controlling their own destiny. They really are. And you worry about it, you're proud about it, but you have very mixed feelings. I know one parent in this audience here who took a real sabbatical from this person's business situation to spend more time with his son as senior here. And I thought at the time, I said, gee, that seemed like a lot. This kid who's a wonderful kid is going to be here for a long period of time. He's going to be around for a long period. And a couple of weeks ago when I was, getting involved in these graduation ceremonies, and I started thinking about my son Jerry, who's a junior. And I'll be going through the same process next year this time. And I thought it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. I'm really losing an integral part of my life. He's going off. He's making his own decisions. Some will be good, some won't be so good. And I said, gee, I'll see much less of him. And I'm going to regret that. At the same time, you want them to fly. You want them to go out and fly and be free. You want them to be the third stage of that Saturn rocket. And they will be. So I think when I end up here, I'd like to say to the students, as you go on to your next journey, which is going to be, I wish I could go back to college again. Don't all of you? You know? The experiences I had, the friends I made, the fun I had, the work I didn't do, now would I change that? But it was such an experience. They say youth is wasted on the young, and it's not wasted. It's going to be an incredible experience for all 112 of you out here in the graduating class. And the only words of wisdom I have, if I have any wisdom, is you have to work hard, but you also have to have fun. You have to find your passion. Someone once told me, and I took this down in some of the graduations I was involved in, find something you love, be bold enough to take hold of it and do it. If you don't love it, don't do it. And I think those are very important things. I know my 10 brothers and sisters all do very different things, from being a fisherman to a psychiatrist. It's on Oprah a lot. It was on Oprah a lot. And the last thing is be kind. Walk in the other person's shoes. I know I heard a speech by the Dalai Lama recently, and he was addressing 500, a worldwide forum. And he came up and everybody was expecting these great, thoughtful suggestions by the Dalai Lama on how to basically live the good life. And he came up and he said 2 things. He said, love everybody. Started to walk away. And then he came back and he said, if you can't love everybody, be kind. And that means try to walk in their shoes, try to understand their perspective. And I know sometimes when I have issues with people or other things, I try to put myself on their shoes. And it's really very different and very important. And the last thing I'd say is another person I've respected all my life has been Steve Jobs, who died, I think it was 3 years ago. And he gave a great graduation speech at Stanford. He never graduated from college, went to Reed College up in northwestern United States, and told his parents, he said, don't worry, I'm going to get a degree someday, I promise you. 30 years later, Stanford gave him one. And he ended up his speech basically ended up by saying, stay hungry and stay foolish, which means always strive to learn, always strive to do the best you can. At the same time, realize that life is short. You should enjoy it. You should have some balance in your life. You should have some great achievements, but also some great family experiences as you go along. So thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much, Chairman of the Board, Joseph O'Connor. I just want to tell you something about myself that I'm sure you're not interested in knowing, but I have the mic and you don't. I have been in education for 40 years now, and I spent most of my time in the classroom. I was a high school Spanish teacher for decades until I sort of started to show some interest, and some interest started to be shown to me regarding moving out of the classroom and moving into school management. But I need to tell you that my heart has always been in the classroom, and I am like a magnet drawn always back to the kids. And I find myself spending what some might consider to be too much time in the lower school, too much time in the middle school, and perhaps too much time in the upper school, but not for managerial reasons, but to be in the midst of young people. But given the job, and this is a large school, believe it or not, we're smaller than public schools in large metropolitan areas, but we're very, very large compared with other independent schools across the country. So given the demands of my job, I cannot spend the kind of time that I really in my heart would find very gratifying. So I don't get to know, unfortunately, and it becomes painfully true to me and aware. I become aware of this very painfully at the end of every year when I see students graduating on this stage in the middle school and in the lower school from 5th to 6th, and I really haven't gotten to know each and every one of those students. But nonetheless, there are always students, every year, always students that rise like a cork out of the bottom of the ocean to the very, very top of my awareness. And 2 of those students are going to speak with you this evening. Very early on in my career, I met these 2 individuals because they are so remarkable and they are so very, 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 very bright. But even given that brilliance, they have worked assiduously, academically, to achieve what they've achieved this evening. So I would like to first call up one of these individuals about whom I just spoke as our salutatorian, Adrienne Margaret Propp.
Faculty, and can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, okay. Faculty, administrators, family, and friends, welcome. And graduates, congratulations. Although this is a milestone we expected we would someday achieve, it is nevertheless deserving of recognition. This night represents more than the culmination of 4 years of math class, afternoon practice, uniforms, and 7 a.m. alarms. It's hard to keep it in perspective. It feels like the end of an era for many of us. Gone are the days of high school shenanigans, after-school snacks, and chats with your friends in the senior hallway. But it is important to remember how much we have to look forward to. Our life is not over, it is just beginning. No matter how much we enjoyed high school, or how difficult we find it to say goodbye, we were in it together since day one, sharing both joys and frustrations. This year, we became even more united. From winning the SEC football championship to when the entire senior class stormed the freshman bleachers during homecoming week, something that is only acceptable in high school. I very much admire our grade. With an unusual combination of youth and maturity, we have an inspiring ability to laugh at ourselves, each other, and life. Not to mention, we have actually learned quite a bit in our time at Benjamin. As a freshman, my knowledge of calculus did not exceed what I had learned in the movie Mean Girls, that the limit does not exist. 4 years later, thanks to Mrs. Wisner, I now understand why the limit did not exist. In addition to all that our teachers have taught us, I think some of the most valuable lessons have come from one another. We have all served as examples of what other students aspire to be, or aspire not to be, from the arts, to academics, to athletics, to character. If Ryan is joking with Coach Ball, we know it's okay to laugh. If Brenna is being nice to someone, we know we can all be friendly. If Liam did not do the homework, there couldn't have really been any homework, right? A wise man once said that true wisdom is the ability to learn from others. Although we will lose many of one another as we move forward, the foundations have been laid. None of us would be the same with a different combination of classmates and teachers. Everyone in our incredibly close community has contributed something unique. That said, there is a theory that this uniqueness is what makes us all the same. Ms. Itaranto showed me a video of a speech based on this idea last week. No one is special because everyone is special. I suppose this makes sense. Clearly, we all have something to offer. We all have talents, we're all good at something, and we all have distinctly different personalities. Sometimes the term special is construed to mean better or unusually gifted. It is our differences and our closeness that makes us special as a group, not competition. So the idea is really to try to be the best you can be, doing whatever it is you want to do. When the priority is happiness rather than prominence, life becomes easier and a lot more fun. A group of us recently attended the Pathfinder Award ceremony, and many of us were awestruck by the impressive level of achievement of some of the winning students. None of us has taken over 20 APs or won 6 national science fairs, but it occurs to me that it doesn't matter. Our time has been well spent, filled with enriching experiences, though not all have contributed to our college applications. We have had an amazing high school education, but this means different things to different people. We are artists, athletes, mathematicians, writers, dancers, musicians, mavericks, social butterflies, and just about everything else. Here, I believe we have an important lesson. Do what you want to do for the right reasons. You can't do it all, so choose wisely. Perfect yourself in areas that are meaningful to you, and share what you learn with others. In this way, I think we can help each other raise the standards of what is special and make the world a better place while we're at it. Seek inspiration, dream big, set your aspirations high, but realize that success is not measured by awards and trophies now, and it will not be measured by the size of your wallet later in life. Education does not mean receiving high grades. Education is what makes you think. Knowledge and understanding go hand in hand. We need one to have the other. So strive to be thoughtful in both senses of the word. Be a deep thinker, but think and care deeply about others. With this in mind, face those who claim that high school is the best time in your life. Prove them wrong. Show that when you pursue what you love, you can achieve anything. Show that the limit does not exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. The other individual, the remarkable individual about whom I spoke, has achieved the status of valedictorian of his class. He will address you now, and his name is Maximilian Graham Seiss.
Good evening. The legendary Mrs. Wisner once told me, "Don't start your speech off with a quote." Joking aside, here we are. Some of us have been with the Benjamin School all our lives. Others have joined along the way. One even had to leave to courageously fight off aplastic anemia, but we are all here tonight as one collective body, the class of 2013. I'm honored to speak before you all. While I was perusing past valedictorian speeches, Mr. Fike told me that for 5 to 8 minutes, everyone will be listening to what I have to say. Aside from the preemptive nervousness that arose within me at that moment in regards to speaking in front of almost 700 people, one singular question immediately came to the fore. What do I know? What groundbreaking wisdom have I accrued in the 18 years of my life? What can I tell to people who have done and been through so much more than I have? I'm no Aristotle, Nietzsche, or Eliot. Anything I can say has been said before, and it will be said again for generations to come. We still read Antigone and Oedipus because their themes are relevant. Surely I cannot come up with some new philosophy or life advice that could change the world in the 2 weeks between then and now. But then I realized that's not what it's all about. I don't have to think of a revolutionary concept. I just need to stress the importance of existing ones. We continue to read these plays as well as other older works because we constantly need to be reminded of their messages. We forget easily. Too often, we cast aside the ideas we read because we feel like the ideas do not apply to us. We don't have the same circumstances, the details are different. We come up with all these excuses to not learn from the thoughts of those great minds that came before us. And yet, in actuality, we all go through the same situations, thoughts, and emotions. Those details we point out do not matter. We are all human, and we can all learn from one another. Many a time, I heard classmates, and I am guilty of this as well, complain about how everything we learned wouldn't matter in the real world. Luckily, as high school progressed, I heard this complaint less and less. I've come to realize that even if the subject matter was not necessarily applicable, the process of learning it is. Learning is a lifelong activity. The first career anyone takes up is student. It is not something that should be thrown away or considered complete once one graduates from high school or college. Even though we have prepared and worked for this moment tonight as some sort of climax to our journey, it is by no means a signal of finality. As Dr. Manhattan said to Ozymandias, nothing ever ends. Not only do I hope that the class of 2013 keeps on learning, but I hope it also seeks out knowledge and is intent on learning more than what is merely given. And through this accumulation of knowledge, I believe we can better the world around us. It is through understanding that problems are solved, bonds built, and people brought together. In AP Physics, understanding whether the question involves energy or a kinematic equation allows one to complete it. In music, understanding the mood and feelings of a piece allows one to perform it beautifully. Comparative government was all about understanding how other nations, other people, function. Everything we learn can serve a purpose, even if it is one we cannot see clearly. Hopefully we can better our world through understanding and then teach that understanding to those that come after us. During Mr. Wah's financial seminar, 3 completely different speakers came in, and when asked about tips for college, all 3 had the same advice: experience everything. Experience and learning go hand in hand, and I believe this advice can be applied to anyone in any situation, including everyone in this room tonight, no matter what age. As Ralph Ellison put it, the definition of the world is possibility. So go out, class of 2013, and everyone in this room. Expand your horizons, try something you've never done before, and keep learning. Our opportunities are infinite. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a distinct privilege for me to stand before you this evening to share in this milestone event in the lives of 112 families. Tonight I have the pleasure to be here both as an administrator and as a father. The class of 2013 will always hold a very special place for me, particularly because of that. 2 years ago, when our family moved to this area, my children were immediately welcomed and accepted into the Benjamin community. We very quickly knew that we had arrived at a very special place. The accolades that have most rightfully been bestowed on this group of young people this week leave me tonight with almost no new adjectives to describe them. Over the course of this week, we have heard this class described as extraordinary, gifted, special, accomplished, and unmatched. All those things are true, and I'm completely comfortable knowing that these students leave our school prepared and confident for whatever life brings their way in the future. At this time, I have the honor to recognize 2 students in particular who have come to define the nature of the Benjamin School. One of my favorite wisdom sayings was uttered by John Phillips, an early American educator whose name is best associated with a very elite independent school that he founded, Phillips Exeter Academy. Mr. Phillips said, "Goodness without knowledge is weak and feeble, yet knowledge without goodness is dangerous. Both united form the noblest character and lay the surest foundation of usefulness to mankind." Tonight I'll present the Founders' Cups to 2 seniors who exemplify this wise adage in the way that they have lived out the tenets of the 10 character words that adorn the walkways and buildings on both of our campuses: respect, courage, morality, kindness, fairness, integrity, compassion, acceptance, forgiveness, and responsibility. I'm very pleased tonight to announce that this year's recipient of the Marshall Benjamin Founders Cup is Mr. Liam Fine. I'm also pleased to announce that this year's recipient of the Nancy Benjamin Founders Cup is Miss Savannah Johnson. Congratulations to you both. This time I would like to invite Mr. William Conran, President of the Class of 2013, to come up for the transfer of the senior insignia.
Good evening. As everyone on this stage already knows, I tend to talk really fast when I'm in these types of situations. So if at any point I'm talking too fast, just keep on nodding and smiling. I still find it all too crazy that it's our turns to be up on this stage and be the ones walking across and getting our diplomas. Seriously, where has time gone? It feels like yesterday we had our freshman retreat, our guys beating the seniors in the male cheerleading our sophomore year, taking our standardized testing junior year, applying to colleges, and even walking into the senior hallway in the beginning of August. As cheesy as this sounds, I guess the phrase, time flies when you're having fun, really does apply. And in the blink of an eye, we went from little tiny freshmen to standing on this stage. I couldn't have asked to be a part of a better grade, and nor would I want to be a part of any other one. And it has truly been an honor to have the privilege of being the president of this class, who I know will set out to do amazing things once we enter the real world. In conclusion, I just want to say a quote from one of my favorite songs. It goes, "Don't tell me our youth is running out, it's only just begun." And now I have the privilege of handing over the gavel over to Nicole, who I know will have the same exact feeling come this time next year. Congratulations, everyone, and I love you all.
Thank you so much, Will. I promise to do everything in my power to fulfill my role as class president. And congratulations to the class of 2013. You have been an amazing class, and good luck to all of you.
In a moment, we'll begin what you've all been waiting for, presentation of the diplomas. First row, please stand. Maximilian Graham Seiss. Adrian Margaret Propp. Dean Norman Sandquist. William Francis Conran. Jasmine Janine Adams. Julia Joy Adel. Rachel Nicole Baucom. Philip John Benz. Lauren Haley Bernick. Matthew Davis Bicknell. Evander Brandt Biondi Copeland. Roberto Antonio Borrego. Alexandra Sophia Borlas. Benjamin Bovey. Colby Trenton Bradford. Emma Victoria Brooks. Marie Cabral. Alexandra Taylor Cass. Emma Michelle Cicchini. Hallie Nicole Chaplin. Kelly Susan Christensen. Alex Tanner Klein. Peyton Magruder Cole, Jr. Timothy James Corrigan. Brandon George Davis. Kristen Hambly Davis. Randall Bishop Doan. Brian Charles Dolan. Emily Lauren Dunkel. Alexander Brandon Dwork. Taylor Lee Ferris. Liam Alexander Fine. Michael Jonah Fishman. Chandler Robert Ford. Sally Moyer Frankel. Ana Cristina Garcia. Benjamin Ronald Germano. Samuel George Greenspan. Hannah Rose Gross. Isabel Cherie Haddad. Jamie Tammy Hagar. Matthew Bradley Harris. Rachel May Harris. Avril Adair Healy. Kendall Lee Herman. Cooper Hundley Hopkins. Benjamin Jack Horowitz. Nicholas Taylor O'Keefe Hull. Robert James Jacobs. Ryan Lance Jean. Brandon Christopher Johnson. Savannah Lee Johnson. Isabella Nicole Katzenberg. Claire Marie Kearns. Daniel Joseph Keating. Colby Jack Kempe. Samantha Michelle Kochman. Natalie Carlisle Lambert. Joshua Adam Leibowitz. Kelly Anna Marshall. Dane Michael Mauger. Connor Bishop Mays. Mason James Meany. Anthony Alexander Mercadante. Kelly Nicole Moran. Carly Lynn Myers. Charlie Nicholas. Andrew Benjamin Paez. Dominic John Payon. Bianca Angela Parente. Jonathan William Pavlov. Michael Robert Peters. Dominic Anthony Pileggi. Luke Patrick Pingleton. Mitchell George Powell. Noah Cole Presser. Morgan Adrian Price. Carolyn Ann Quigley. Jacob Mitchell Reitman. Ryan Karpin Rangasamy. Sam Walker Rittenauer. Austin Davis Rosenthal. Jeffrey Oliver Rawson. Hunter Andrew Rudolph. Thomas James Rudowski. Cody Todd Rudisilli. Stefan Olivier Safar. Ross Mackenzie Sanford. Megan Margaret Savoy. Alexander Jacob Sheps. Eleanor Samantha Schlechter. Stephanie Catherine Seltz. Brian Gerard Shirzad. Lindsay Eve Slavin. Barrett K. Smith. Rachel Madison Smith. Shelby Tate Smolak. Andrew Lawrence Sprague. Sydney Melanie Spreckman. Sani Murtaza Naqvi Sayed. Virginia Maria Tadini. Brenna Rose Tiano. Connor Randall Tobin. Katie Alexandra Walshine. James Clancy Waugh. Gray Monroe Welton. Jamie Ann Wilkinson. Jake Tanner Williams. Michael Gerard Wilson. Taryn Merritt Wynn. Natasha Marie Zachariadis. And Jordy Zindel Mundet Romero.
Man, you are loved. With the power vested in me by the Benjamin School Board of Trustees, I now pronounce you alumni of the Benjamin School.